Yeah, hi everyone. So today it will be Anton and me. Yeah, as Nastasia already said, I'm a product manager and program manager, just currently in the context of pharmacovigilance. And we will take you today on our journey to a real product. How is that working? I put it. Now we go. Okay. So we started a few years ago with a research idea by one of our data scientists in collaboration with ThinkWork. Philip Kasser is also here today in our auditorium listening to us. They did some research activities around training data sufficiency and how do we know that our data set has a good quality. And the same data scientists then joined an idea we had in the PV context. So whenever we say PV, it's pharmacovigilance. And he joined it, and he was able to transform also all the research results into our end solution we had. And as you can see, the end product, we needed a few more people than research. We have some engineers, we had some business process owners, validation as well, and Anton and me as product managers. So come and join me. We will have a look into the research activities, followed by showing our business case, the technical solution, and in the end, sharing the learnings and experiences. So whoever has interest, the results of the research activities were published. You can just scan the QR code. I can also maybe show it later. You can then see it and check it out for reference. Object was to create a data set and analyze the performance of machine learning models. And therefore, Philip and Jürgen created a data set with 1,400 labeled data. And it's a mix of scientific language and informal language, external sources, internal sources. And they have gone through an iterative annotation process. So I will focus today on two results out of these research activities. One is, how do we know that we have enough training data for our ML solution, which might be a problem all of us has. So what you can see, or what they did, is you need a model, you train it with different amount of data and test this against the same validation data set. And when you then put that into a graph, like we did it here, you can see, or you will observe something. So when you look at the dark blue line, so we trained the system with different amount of training data. You have percent because of 1,400 data set was a complete data set, and then it was like different fractions. For one entity, we reached a plateau, right? So we tested for one specific entry, and then at some point here at 80%, it reached a plateau. So whenever we took more training data, the performance will not increase. That would mean for practice, when you do that in the same process, you will observe at some point a plateau. You can stop creating same training data, right? So it will not improve the system if you have like 1,000 more data sets. But if we look at the light blue line, same process, you take the same model, different amount of training data, but test it against the same validation data set. We have not reached a plateau. So here it would be beneficial, take more training data. You can increase the performance of your machine learning system. And second question, maybe also relevant for all of you, is how do we know that our quality of the data we use to train the system is sufficient enough? The method is here. You take also the same model, same training data same validation data set, and the same training data fractions, so the same amount, but with different data inside these fractions. And then you do the same, you test it, and what you then can observe is that you have different performance per fraction. And if we look at fraction 1 and 4, they are nearly the same, and we have some outliers. We have fraction 2 and fraction 3, which are below this average and above the average. And here you should look into that. It could be that the training data you created, there's some bias inside, that you maybe have some changes in how you labeled it, how you set it up. So there could be multiple reasons, and you should check it out, because there obviously something strange with this data, and there you can improve the quality of the data to also then later improve the running system. So now handing over to Anton for the business case.
Thank you. It's the green button, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try it out.
I will. So welcome also from my side. I'm a product specialist from Bayer. And when Beate reached out to me 2 years ago to be involved in the project, AI project, in the regulated environment, I was thinking it's a joke, because whoever worked in a regulated environment knows about GXP and all the policies that we have to obtain. So I'm, to be more precise, the IT lead for the project that we had. It was the adverse event detection engine. And we are coming from the pharmacovigilance area, from the medical affairs area, which means that we as Bayer employees or as a company have to ensure that the products that we are giving to our clients, patients, are also working, and that no kind of bad side effects occur, right? So if you, for example, take a medicine or put some ointment on your skin, your arm shouldn't pop off, right, without Bayer knowing that. That would be the worst case. And PTCs, as you can see on the top, are product technical complaints. This is something like you buy ointment, you expect the ointment to be white, but if you open it, it is green and also smells not very good. So you as patients have the option via different channels such as email, phone calls, or you can also write letters to Bayer to complain about such cases. And we as Bayer employees are obliged to do so. Oh, we have to do that, right, if we find out about it. So you can imagine that we are receiving a lot of reports on a daily basis throughout different systems, such as the CRM system, or we have also surveys which are coming in. And we have a human assessment. So because we are responsible for look through all the reports, we also externalize it sometimes. So agencies are looking through every single line that we are receiving, and on a daily basis, if you're operating in more than 100 countries, it could be multiple thousands entries that we have to check, right? And if it's all done by humans, then is it a lot of manual effort which we wanted to avoid, right? And there we are looking how can this process be simplified, because after the human assessment, after they're checking the entries, we have also the regulations that we have to report it to institutions such as the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration in the US, or the EMA, the European Medicines Agency, which is, I think, in Belgium. And another challenge is that we have to report it within 24 hours, right? So multiple thousands reports within 24 hours. You can imagine how much effort that is. So the question is, how can we automate it? So with all the groundwork done that Beate has presented, with the help of ThinkWork and other colleagues, data scientists that we have, these were massive impacts or efforts that we had to do. We finally developed a tool, to be more precise, a web service, where we are doing the following. We are receiving the reports from the clients, patients over the different channels, and then we scan it with the tool. Right, so automatically we can scan multiple thousands entries and reports within a couple of hours, where it would be costing, like, for people who are reviewing it manually, multiple days probably. And then after that, we are calling it as a safety net, because especially in the regulated area, as in the pharmaceutical industry, you can imagine we cannot do anything without a risk assessment, without the documentation. Computer system validation is a very huge aspect. We are documenting the user requirements, we are documenting the functional specifications, and I think for the project only itself, there are probably 30 to 50 documents that you have to regularly update when you're retraining a model or if you're changing the system itself. So after the tool has checked it, there is still a human review required. Yeah, so you cannot imagine, or you cannot think that we're just directly reporting it to the different institutions, but humans have to check it. And after only the final check, it can be then finally also reported to the institutions like FDA or EMA. After I've shown you the business case now, let's take a quick look at the technical implementation. What can you see here is not a weather forecast for Berlin for the next couple of days, not years. We were thinking, how can we build this application, this tool, this web service, which is flexible, scalable, and also can be used for different use cases, right? With low latency, with lower costs in an experimental sandbox. So we decided to build a cloud-based web service that we are offering to our client systems within the Bayer infrastructure architecture that we are having. Using the typical services, as you probably, if you're familiar with cloud, with the AWS cloud, such as the Lambda function, we are using Docker files. We are using an Athena database for logs, especially from the data privacy perspective. We are also not allowed to store the data itself in most cases. We are just storing the logs, and also to mitigate the risk, we have to delete the logs within a year. The model itself, there we had two options. The first option was to use a public model from Google, or we could go for large language models. Right? Through intensive assessments, evaluations, we finally decided to host our own models on SageMaker on Google, which we are regularly retraining, also based on the different use cases that we are having, just to make sure that there's no bias and that there are no false predictions. We are also offering different endpoints for the client system. So as you can imagine, we are receiving data from all over the world that it's not only English reports, but also in all different languages, right? And therefore we have within Bayer itself a translation service, which we are putting in between in order to make sure that we can process the entries with our models that we built itself. Yeah. And with that quick overview of the technical solution, I think we can move on to the learnings and experiences that we've collected throughout the time. Handing back to Beate.
Thanks. Yeah, so maybe you have not recognized it, but quality of the data is the key. So when you have bad data, your system will deliver bad results. So you should invest definitely into that. Also our learning. So we tried to save there some money. We crashed. We put in the learnings from the research activities, recognized, yeah, quality of this data was like really bad. So starting from scratch again, investing again budget. So here, please invest the budget. Invest into the quality of your data. It should be time, so you can do it on your own if you have the expertise on that, or you should buy it, but take care on that. And for us, the first use case was the hardest one. So everyone was really convinced this system will bring a benefit. They went on discussions, everyone supported, but no one wanted to be the first one, right? So everyone wanted a perfect running system without any learning phase. That will not work. So it was a lot of expectation management, communication, and really close collaboration with the colleagues from different use cases, different functions. And we finally made it, and now it's like the first one did it, and now everyone is jumping on it, wants to explore it, wants to have it integrated. Bringing us to the next point, we thought broader from the beginning. So we thought there would be a huge use case within our company for different processes we have. So we should have it as flexible and scalable as possible from the beginning. And that's what Anton already showed you.
Some further important learnings that we've collected were be patient, right? Because we started with these activities, I think 2018, right? There were the initial tasks, and we are still working on it, right? So 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Especially one of the main drivers of the time is the validation itself, the computer system validation. Because you have to make sure that you're exactly knowing what the model and what your tool is doing, because we don't want to affect the patient and the drug safety, as I've mentioned before, right? Because also the validation brings a lot of manual efforts that you have. You have to document everything. In the pharma area, we are saying everything that's not documented, it never officially existed. And also we have sometimes to do some work to convince quality assurance or pharmacovigilance people who are taking finally also the risk or who are taking the decisions, because those are usually new ways which are not explored. We are we call it sometimes pioneering here. I pretty much like the word. What you also have to make sure is that you have clear roles, responsibilities, and task assignments. You have to communicate transparently. Because, as I said, there have to be decision makers. You have to bring everyone aboard. This is also why we've mentioned as the last point stakeholder management. Because only if we communicate transparently and everyone is aware of the risks and benefits that we are having, we can also achieve the results that we really want to achieve. And with that being said, many thanks for your attention. And we are opening the Q&A round.
Inmiddels.